Are you ready to take your business to the next level? Every day there are countless books and articles that are published offering the key on how to make your business a success. It's easy to feel overwhelmed trying to keep up and run your business. That's why Deb Creer created the Business Power Hour. Keep up on the latest trends, best practices, and techniques for how to make your business a success. Let the Business Power Hour do the heavy work for you.
Good morning, good morning. I am Deb Creer, and I am passionate about giving professionals the tools that they need to make themselves and their businesses as successful as possible. And we are going to have so much fun today. I can tell just because of, talking with my guests. Actually, when I saw the promo photo that she sent me, I thought, oh my gosh, this is going to be such a fun person to talk to. And we really are going to have a great time today talking with Bennett. So please join me in welcoming Ann to our program today. Welcome, Ann.
Thank you, Deborah. It's really a pleasure to be here.
Great. Well, yeah, we're going to have a ton of fun. And so let me tell people a little bit about you, and then we will dive into this. So an award-winning graphic designer for Vogue Magazine and brand profit builder, Ann Bennett has helped many talented entrepreneurs illuminate, translate, and amplify their unique brands so that they can stand out and get noticed and known, making a big impact and making bank. And helps entrepreneurs build a head-whipping brand identity that positions their influence and explodes their profits to 6 figures and beyond. So again, Ann, welcome.
Thank you. It's always so amazing to hear the intro of yourself.
I know. And let's be honest, we write them ourselves, or we have a publicist that does it, but I'm always like, ooh.
Right, I'm that way too. I'm like, ooh, who is that?
I know. This is going to be so much fun. She sounds really great. So let's go back in the little Wayback Machine. Tell us how it is that you got to where you are now and how you discovered that this is your true passion in life.
That's a really great question. I was always a very passionate child. Mm-hmm. I was always a very curious child.
Okay.
And of course, my father tried to control that. I don't know
why. It wasn't ladylike, right? Yes. You were not ladylike.
My father was from the South. My dad was from Texas. Mm-hmm. And so he had an idea of what little girls would be like. Right. And of course, I was exactly the opposite. Mm-hmm. Right. And I say to people, I've never followed the rules. I never have, and I never will. Mm-hmm. It's not new for me to be out on the edge. Mm-hmm. Doing something, right? So I studied in school to become an artist, a painter. Okay. That's actually what took me to New York. Mm. And of course, in the meantime, I needed a job.
Those bills have to be paid. How rude!
And my father wanted me to be a teacher because he was a high school principal. Mm. And I was like, Dad, no, I'm gonna go to New York.
Right.
Famous, mm-hmm. I don't want to be a teacher. That's so normal. Remember, we were talking about normal,
right? Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And so I did go to New York and created a huge career in the graphic mm-hmm. magazine, art direction, mm-hmm. and design. And I had been in New York for a good long time, probably 20 years, mm-hmm. and I used to work out every morning. I'm a very active kind of person. Mm-hmm. And I was coming out of my favorite coffee store and I'm trotting up Fifth Avenue and all these people are standing on the corner and they're looking mm-hmm. up. And I'm like, kind of monkey see, monkey do kind of mm-hmm. deal.
Right.
So I look up and to the left to see the first plane hit the World Trade Center.
Whoa.
Yeah. And that was like, it just takes your breath mm-hmm. away, really. Mm-hmm. And in that moment, my DNA completely rearranged. Mm-hmm. And as that day unfolded and the events of the day, mm-hmm. I stopped caring about a lot of outward glitz and glamour. Mm-hmm. I was working at Vogue mm-hmm. at that time,
It's as glitzy and as glamorous as it gets.
Pretty powerful, right? Mm-hmm. And I was like, who's better than me kind mm-hmm. of thing. And I stopped caring about it in the same way. And I wanted my life to matter mm-hmm. on a deeper level than fashion. I mean, fashion is very powerful,
Right.
and I really admire Anna Wintour, who is the editor-in-chief, because she uses her influence not just in fashion, but politics and women's rights and art.
Right.
And, you know, she covers the gamut. But to me, it was like, yeah, what do I want to do with my life, my one precious life? And who am I really? What is my purpose, you know, being here? And what is my energy want to convey to other people? And I wanted to help people. I was very much an introvert, not too much like you, Deborah. I was more on the spectrum because I was an artist. I spent a lot of time alone.
Right.
In my studio, and then I would come out for shows or if I was showing or whatever, but mostly quiet, you know, very, very quiet. And I was like, you know, I want to step out and I want to make an impact bigger than what I perceived I had been doing in my life up until then. And I wanted to really help people. So I decided to do a lot of studying, spiritual work, inner work with, you know, Marianne Williamson, Jerry and Esther Hicks, Tony Robbins, all these people that were about expand and explode. And, you know, I was kind of, I wouldn't say shy, but I was the person behind the famous people, you know, behind the famous designers and photographers. Right. I wasn't the person that people saw. It was more like behind the camera kind of person. So for me, it was like, well, what are my talents, skills, and abilities? I know we were talking about, you have people that want to become entrepreneurs, right? And it's quite a big leap from working for someone. But what you want to look at is what I did, which is, what are my talents, skills, and abilities? What do I love? What breaks my heart? And what makes me hop and mad? Those passionate things, if you will, about what I care about. So for me, it was like, you know, I had spent 25 years illuminating, translating, and magnifying stories and writing headlines and working with all these editors and photographers and things like that. So it was a natural progression to take those skills and abilities and apply them to entrepreneurs.
Right.
And really help them to understand what makes them fascinating to other people and how they could use their personalities and their points of view to actually distinguish themselves in the marketplace from others doing what they're doing, right? We're all doing certain things. There's millions of branders. There's millions of other real estate people and all the other different jobs that you could have, or skills that you can have. And how do you stand out? How do you really make an impact so people want to be with you over another person? It's really about style and it's about your essence. Right. People are attracted to your energy, right? Whatever that is. It could be quiet and that's totally fine. Or it could be really loud and that's totally fine. But you're going to attract people based on who you are. Right.
Right. Yeah. One of the key words that we hear in marketing a lot now is being authentic. And, you know, and it's funny because it's one of those words that we're almost like, yeah, whatever, you know, because we've heard it so much, but it's still so very important, because I think many times we think that we shouldn't stand out. We shouldn't rock the boat. We shouldn't bring attention to ourselves. And so we're not being authentic to ourselves, you know, and whether that's, you know, with your brand, with your product, all of those various things. And I think, you know, in a lot of ways that is very true, especially for our generation. I mean, you know, we were laughing at the start that, you know, you were told that what you know, just being you wasn't being ladylike. And I remember, you know, and I still get told on occasion, shh,
you're so loud.
Calm. And, you know, and I'm like, you know, and yeah, I'm like, okay, whatever. And obviously there are appropriate times and inappropriate times, but yeah, I mean, we do have to be authentic to ourselves. And I think for the most part, men are used to that, but women really are still having to learn that. And I love, we were talking before the program that we love millennials because they have a totally different view of the world. But I think the cool thing is, obviously they have been raised to do that. Your father wanted you to be a teacher. Our generation wants our young women and young men to be leaders and to stand out and all of those various things and to do what makes them feel good. For the people who are like, ew, millennials, hello, you raised them.
If you don't like them, it's your fault.
Yeah. But I think it is so true that, we have had to have this mind shift that being authentic is not a bad thing.
Well, I agree completely. I think too, to your point about what's authentic and people hear it over and over, I prefer to use, when you can really be in touch with your heart, people will feel it.
Right.
People see it. People, it's really about a connection to another person and not having kind of the mask on or so much of it that you can't feel the other person. It was Maya Angelou said, and I'll just paraphrase, no one's going to remember your name or what you do, but they'll always remember how you made them feel. And in branding and messaging and when you're in your business, it's about how people feel.
Right.
Not being, seriously, you can be the smartest and you can be the best at what you do. And people are not going to care if they can't connect with you.
Right.
It's really about a connection. So authenticity to me is about being who you are, really. If you're a nurturer, I have these cards. I don't know if I told you about these. I have these cards. I have these branding cards. They're really cool.
Oh, I love them.
I'll tell you about it. So if you're a nurturer, be a nurturer.
Right. That's okay.
And it's totally fine. And if you're a disruptor, like Madonna, be a disruptor. And if you're an innovator, be an innovator. And if you're a geek, just be one.
Right. Fly that geek flag.
Exactly. Because that's what people are they're going to want that. So for all my geeks, I always say, look, you are the people that love spreadsheets, that love numbers, that love to track things, that I know if I give you something, it's going to get done. Above and beyond what I do to mess it up, right?
Right. I could do it, but it'll take me 5 times as long.
They're just like boom, boom, boom. And I'm like, I love those people because I need that. Obviously, when you're creative, you need a lot of support.
Right. Yeah. Those numbers and things like that are like,
are not always where you want to go. But for, I think that every aspect of the personality is really important to magnify. So like if you're a geek, we were talking about this earlier, I use Ruth Bader Ginsburg as the iconic model.
Right.
So you can see what that means. It doesn't mean you're a geek and you're like a wallflower.
Right.
It means, oh no, you research, you understand. A lot of my clients that are in the healing arts or that are doctors, they're those kinds of people that research everything.
Right.
When they talk to me, I'm like, that's great. Just talk less.
Right. Yeah.
Because I
didn't understand any of it.
Right. They go in very deep detail about something because they're so geeked out about it. Right. Or same with computer people that are into computers and design and things like that.
Right.
But authenticity is the new currency because it's about connection and communication and relationship.
Right. And it is tricky because we do think, well, if we're going to be in business, we need to do X. And usually X is what somebody else has done. We're comparing ourselves with them. And, you mentioned for some, that might be, their true self might be being quiet, being that introvert and, but they're thinking, no, I should be a public speaker and I hate that. But, and so they force themselves to do it. And unfortunately, then we pick up on that, we read when they're not being authentic to themselves. And so maybe rather than speaking to hundreds, you speak to 10.
Mhm.
And and you're able to really get that message across to them in a way that you never could with hundreds or thousands, or or maybe you do online. Gotta love the whole new online world, right?
Yeah, we were talking about that. It kind of
Yeah.
it puts a little bit of
Yep. It's
a
a
little
shield, a
bit,
protection.
yeah, a little bit between
Right.
you and a group of
Hmm.
people, and I think that's good and bad.
Hmm.
I used to
Right.
laugh because I would ask my father a question.
Hmm.
Hey, Dad, should I do this? And he'd go, well, yeah, that's good and bad.
Hmm.
He'd always go, yes and no. And
Yeah.
it'd be
And you're like, ah.
like both sides of it. But I
Mhm.
think, part of it is it's a little more difficult to
Mhm.
actually connect with a person's energy and with
Right.
their vibe
Mhm.
when you're flattened on the
Mhm.
screen.
Right.
So you actually have to even be more
Mhm.
animated
Right.
or alive
Mhm.
in that sense,
Mhm.
or people are going to snooze on you, right?
Mhm. Right. Right.
They go, oh, I
Yeah.
got to check my
Mhm.
text now.
Yeah. But if you're someone who, especially if you do not like public speaking, and things like that, oh my gosh, to present webinars and things is fabulous. I don't like it because I'm not connecting with my audience.
Mhm.
I'm like, is there somebody there? Hello, somebody
Right.
sneeze, so that I at least know there's somebody still connected. But for someone who doesn't like doing that but wants to get their message out there, webinars are fabulous
Yeah.
because there really isn't anybody. Or you might just have a couple people that are there so that but yeah, it's a great tool.
Yeah.
Or you don't even have anybody there. You just pre-record and post it.
Mhm.
And so that's, and we were talking before the thing that technology is really changing how
Mm.
we're having to function. And more importantly, technology during a pandemic is really changing things. But, I think we're into this now. What? It depends on who you ask, 7 months, 9 months, whatever.
Mhm.
And I think many people are rethinking what they're going to be doing next year and how they're
Absolutely.
going to be doing business. I
Mhm.
think there are a lot of people who are really going, you know what? I like this work from home thing. I bet I could start a business.
Yeah.
And then I think there's many of us, and I was telling you before the program, I'm putting my little
Mhm.
hand up,
Right.
who have been doing this for a long time. And now is kind of a good time to be rethinking our
Mhm.
branding, all of those various things. And so it was fun. I was looking on your website, and you've got the key words there, and you've got rebel, you've got renegade, you've got revolutionary. And for everybody who just went, oh my God, and panicked, it's all right. We're not saying that you're going to go off on a Harley and be doing it now. If you
You
like that,
could.
that's fine. But it's about coming back to yourself and being authentic. So talk to us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, I think, it's interesting that you bring that up because people do have a response. When
Hmm.
I say everybody's a rebel,
Hmm.
they're like, no, I'm not.
Right. Oh yes.
That's
No,
like,
I
oh,
have my pearls
oh.
on.
Right. I'm wearing my pumps and my pearls, my little black dress.
Mhm.
But the truth of it is, if you're somebody thinking of starting your own
Mhm.
business or leaving the umbrella of the corporate world
Mhm.
and starting out on your own,
Mhm.
that's
That's
pretty
a rebel right there.
that's a rebellious move.
Mhm.
Okay. So I like to say to my audience, even if you don't think of yourself as a rebel, you
Mhm.
actually are.
Right.
And it's okay to own that.
Mhm.
It's not like, oh, that's for those people that, don't ever follow a rule or
Mhm.
are just breaking things up. I like to say, rebels with a cause,
Mhm. Right.
so that you're actually having a
Mhm.
purpose for whatever it is you're
Mhm.
doing. And I think as entrepreneurs are people who, they look at something and they don't like the way it's going.
Mhm.
They're like,
Right.
we need to
Whether it's
change
their life,
this.
whether it's the industry, whatever it is. Yeah, they're like, I could do this differently.
I could do this differently. I could do it better.
Mhm.
I could bring an influence upon it that would
Mhm.
really change
Mhm.
attitude or change people's minds
Mhm.
about something. And I think it's a really an act of service,
Mhm.
ultimately. Of course, the money can be really great.
Mhm.
There's no ceiling on that.
Mhm.
So that's always good too. But I think most people, particularly, we were talking about, the times that we're finding ourselves in
Mhm.
right now. these extraordinary times of being out of control and uncomfortable.
Right.
It's a little bit of an entrepreneurial life.
Yeah. Yeah, when you decide to quit corporate America and stay home and open a business in your spare bedroom, we've been doing that for years. And it's been scary for years.
Yeah, it's that idea that something should not be fearful is kind of crazy.
Right.
To me, fear is the thing when you are afraid of something, generally, unless you're afraid for your physical well-being.
Right.
You are expanding into something that you don't know how it's going to turn out. You don't know the answer maybe, or even how you're going to do it. The how becomes less important because you are relying on what I consider a very American type of way of thinking, which is you are going to rely on yourself and your personal resources to friends, family, people that you meet in business to support an idea. You're actually beginning to sell air,
right? Yeah.
if you will. I mean, when you're starting, because you're starting with nothing and building something, which is a very creative, action,
right?
To do that. And I think people are looking at it now because, I mean, it used to be like, oh, I have a job, I'm safe. I know where the money's coming from. That's very safe. The deal that's coming around is like, it's not safe to be that way.
Right.
Most of my friends that work for IBM and Sony and all these big companies,
they're a little worried right now.
Well, most of them have lost their jobs. And they're not in an age group where it's a cool thing to lose your job.
Right. Yeah. There's this little, okay, we're not ready to retire yet, but most companies don't want to hire us because we're a little older.
Maybe, everybody needs to work doing something, right? So something. So if you start with a side gig and just keep it going to the level that you like to have extra money, or if you build that out and that becomes your what you're actually going to do most of the time, it becomes very important to understand what you want. People don't know what they want,
right?
Generally,
right?
We're a little bit like, well, my parents told me what I should want. My religion told me what I should want. Our society told me what I should want. And then you wake up one day and you're not happy because you're like, oh, well, I did all the right thing.
Right. Yeah.
I got married, I got kids, I did this, I did that, whatever it is. Not saying those things aren't valuable. They're very, very valuable. And understanding who you are is the most important thing.
Right, right. And when you take that leap and maybe start your own business, we're not saying you just leap. There's still planning that needs to go into it. And if you're not that type of person, well, fine. Then you have somebody who helps you. We've had lots of interviews and discussions on this program where we've said, okay, there's some legal things you need to do. So you talk to an attorney, talk to a CPA, all that good stuff. They're the smart people. They're the ones who know how to be doing this. But you should be channeling your own passion. You shouldn't be having to figure out, okay, should I be an LLC or an S Corp? Okay, that's what other people are for. Unless, but yeah, it's, and in the planning is also where you're expanding, where you're learning. I love when I get to talk to authors on this program because, they've always got such great books, and I always learn something from any of them. And so I think that's one of the things too, when you're thinking about, taking a next step, whether it's just a second gig or, completely doing something new, you do have to learn some new things. Even if it's reinforcing what you already knew, then you need to be learning. And, I'm one of those people that believes that we should be learning until, that last, that last tick on that clock. And so that's kind of the cool part about this too. And again, we're able to expand our horizons. We're not just talking to people at a local networking thing. We're talking to people around the world, maybe even partnering with them, selling our product with them, all these various things.
Yeah, it's extraordinary right now. We're talking about that, how everything all of a sudden, it was going in this direction, but all of a sudden it just flipped into global connections with
Right.
each other because
Mhm.
we have the Zoom, or we have,
Mhm.
virtual events
Mhm.
and ways that people can come together from all over
Mhm.
and all walks and all
Right.
nationalities. It's really
Mhm.
extraordinary.
Right.
And I think, the one thing that you were saying, is so funny that you were talking about authors, because I have a couple of books, and I was laughing because the first book I ever wrote was called
Mhm.
Laughing Your Way to Loving Yourself.
Oh, I like that. Mhm.
12 steps, 7 habits, 4
Mhm.
agreements, and 1 cup of veggie soup for the soul. So it's a little irreverent,
Mm.
obviously. And
From you? No.
it's irreverent, but has wisdom at the
Mhm.
same time. But I think for me, when I wrote that I had a writing partner, together
Mhm.
we wrote it, I saw how serious entrepreneurs get
Right.
and how much they beat themselves
Mhm.
up if they don't get the response
Mhm.
or the clients or the money
Mhm.
that they want in the time frame that
Mhm.
they think they deserve
Right.
to have it, right? And so that we all need to
Mhm.
laugh at ourselves quite a
Mhm.
bit in order to get through this.
Mhm.
And I think we need to laugh right now
Oh,
as
yeah.
well, and make
Mhm.
jokes about stuff,
Mhm. Yeah. As
because
as we're recording this, it's the day before election day.
right,
Okay, we
right,
really have to laugh.
right. We have to kind of crack
Mhm.
up at the human condition,
Mhm.
and the way that we are. And I think that um, those things become very, very important.
Mhm.
And I never thought I could be a writer. Oh, this will make you laugh. So when I was in high school,
Mhm.
I wanted to be an author. I wanted to be a
Ah.
writer. I wanted
Mhm.
to like go into the woods like
Mhm.
Emerson and come
Mhm.
out with
Longhand. Yeah.
all of
Mhm.
these
Mhm.
great stories
Mhm.
and ideas and stuff. And I had dyslexia, so I wasn't really great at spelling or putting a sentence together so it made sense.
Mhm.
So I went into more of the visual because it was easier for
Mhm.
me
Mhm.
to represent something visually.
Right.
And then I got involved in my current business in marketing,
Mhm.
branding, messaging, and it's all writing.
Mhm.
And I
You're
think
like,
I'm a really good writer.
mhm.
It's like really funny though, because
Mhm.
we have spell check,
Mhm.
talk about technology, right? Or you
Yep.
can go to
Oh.
Grammarly and you can get your
Mhm.
sentences put together in a
Mhm.
way that makes sense to other people,
Mhm.
which is very helpful. But when I was growing up, we didn't have that stuff.
No. No, I didn't touch a computer till I was 18.
Wow, that was good. They
I
didn't
know.
even have computers. I learned we were doing the magazine on layout boards and
Right.
things you
Mhm.
touch, right?
Mhm.
Very
Mhm.
tactile. And then computers came in and they're like, okay, great. So we're buying all sorts of new computers for you, and you get to learn how to do that in 3 days. I was like,
No.
alrighty then, I got
Mhm.
this. No, I'm kind of the kind of person that's like, I got it. And if I
Mhm.
don't know how to do it, I'll figure it out,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Mhm.
So yeah, we learned how to put the magazines
Mhm.
online in these new layout
Mhm.
programs. I think it was
Right. Mhm.
Quark at the
It would
time.
have been Quark. Yep.
Yeah,
Mhm.
went on to InDesign,
Mhm.
but
Mhm.
we learned how to do all that stuff
Mhm.
in a couple of days,
Right.
which was
Mhm.
mind-boggling to me.
Yeah. And it is interesting what technology has done, because it really has allowed us to do so much. But we here in Atlanta, last week we had Hurricane Zeta that went through,
Oh,
and and we had no power. So we
mm,
had no power for a whopping 10 hours. I mean, wah, right? But more importantly, we had no internet for almost 2 days. And I'm like, oh my, and my phone didn't want to connect either. I mean, that was the weird thing. And so, I was kind of like in this, what do we do type of thing. And, and it was so neat because I read. I got out a book because, I didn't have TV either. And now I do have a radio. I actually still have a physical radio. And so, the world was still there. And I could use my neighbors with their permission. I could use their internet, but, I didn't want to do too much on that and all of that. But, it did really remind me that for all of us, we still need to know how to kind of do the old school things,
mm.
how to writing. I love the memes that I see on Facebook that say, if you want to take down an entire generation, make them drive a stick shift and read cursive.
Right.
But, and so sometimes I think technology, we let it do too much for us. And so, that kind of comes back to some of the things is, we have to rely on ourselves. If we don't have internet, what are we going to do? All of those various things. And maybe it is that you just take the time, you sit and you read a book. In normal times, you go have a glass of wine with your neighbors, all of those various things. But it really is, and maybe it's that you sit down and you're just being introverted and thinking.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, taking some quiet time.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not overstimulated like we are most of the time, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it was weird how totally quiet it was, when we had no power, because there's little things that make noise all the time. And granted, we have dogs and we have cats, and so there's still noise going on. But to not have kind of those quiet hums of things like the refrigerator and, all of those various things, it was, and like I said, it was a whopping 10 hours. I have friends who still don't have power, and it's going on 4 or 5 days.
Yeah, that's a silent retreat.
Oh, yeah.
Which I'm not good at personally.
No, you can tell neither of us do quiet. I mean,
it's good to get off the grid.
Mm-hmm.
I agree with that. I mean, I think the last time I read a book for fun, not a business book, which I'm always reading. I read a book a week. I told my friends, I'm going off the grid. I will not be answering my phone. That was the hardest thing, was to
oh yeah, no phone.
Turn off the cell phone. And I'm just going to, drive my car to the beach, sit on the beach and read a book for like 2 days. And the first day was torture.
Oh yeah. The world's going to stop and you're not going to know it.
There's a lot of anxiety, like a lot of I'm disconnected feeling, and then it goes away, which thank God for that. And
then we enjoyed it.
Yeah, it was fun. It was fun to really read a book and to take that kind of slow, and it's very old school. And sometimes old school, people laugh about it, but it's got a level of satisfaction that is not the same, different in the digital world. The other thing that's happened is we all have digital dementia. I mean, if I had to call my best friend's phone number, I don't know what it is.
No, because we say Siri call,
right. So we're relying on the smartphone, which is actually making us dumb in a way.
Oh yeah. When we didn't have power last week, I was, driving somewhere and my neighbors were out and they're up a little ways and they're a little older. And so I stopped and I said, everything okay? You guys need anything? And we were just kind of chatting. And I said, if Russia really wanted to mess with us, they'd take down the power grid.
Yeah. Take down the grid.
Yeah. Yeah. We would not know how to function. Crazy.
No. And, most people don't have any idea. And I think, it's fascinating because I love technology. One of the things I did when we went into the pandemic was I bought a Peloton, which is like a giant computer.
Right.
You ride your bike on. And, I just love stuff like that. I love it. I love the innovation and the technology that's coming out of this time period. And as entrepreneurs, we need to innovate in our own businesses. I know we were speaking a little bit about this in terms of taking everything online. That's an innovation for a lot of people. And one of the things that I'm fascinated by is gamifying the online space. Like last night, I played Pokemon. Okay, I'll admit it. It's like really fun because you get a lot of dopamine when you go and you it's all dopamine. So how can we bring that to our business? How can we create entertainment and education? Right. Some people call it edutainment. Edutainment, yeah. So how can you create that and have it be used for good? Superpowers can be used for bad, or they can be used for good. So I think using them for good to engage people in your work and what you're trying to teach them is extremely important right now.
Right. Well, and one of the things that you say is the more fun I have, the more money I make. So explain us a little bit more about that, because, I think that's one of the things, especially for people who are thinking of setting up their own business. I have to be serious all the time. I can't have fun. All of these things. And as you say, the opposite is true.
Yeah, it's kind of like when I first came out from working at Vogue, which is very serious, by the way, very, very serious, intense pressure kind of a place. I started networking in my Armani suit and acting what I felt was like, this is what professional people do. You know, you shake hands, you ask a couple of leading questions to the other person. What do you do? Kind of thing, which is now I can never do that.
Right.
But,
I don't even have a suit.
It's like, you know, nobody remembered me. Nobody, I was just kind of blending in with the herd, if you will. And what's becoming extremely critical right now, particularly because we're all online and we're all on Zoom and there's so much and so many opportunities, you've got to stand out. You've got to be uniquely different.
Right.
And that comes back to having a point of view that's really strong.
Right.
Bringing out either the nurturing aspect of who you are or the innovation, doing things that are engaging. I like to use the words surprise and delight people so that they're like, wow, that's really interesting.
Right.
Oh, I want that title. Like the title of this book I'm reading right now is Normal Sucks. And I was like, I have to read that. You know, I'm just like drawn to it, right? And I think, you know, these are the things that are catching people's attention. And it's super important. And a brand and a message does that. That's what it actually does. People are like, well, why do I need the brand? And I'm like, because you need to stand for something. You need to represent something that's bigger than you. Like the millennials are very, very attuned to this in terms of they want to work for people that they align with, that they aspire.
Right.
There's an aspirational aspect to it that brings people together. Super important right now. And that's what the brand story, the brand message, that's what that will do. And people are like fumbling around trying to say things that are very formulaic. Not that there's anything wrong with a formula, but it's kind of like we were saying, authenticity, or transformation. You hear it so much, it loses its value because it starts to blend in.
Right.
So then how do you say things that interrupt what we're all up here busy doing?
Right.
And that's where the head whipping hook or the head whipping identity, brand identity comes in. You want your thing to be like, what was that? Yeah. Oh, what was that? I got to go check that out. You know, it's a way of grabbing attention.
Right.
And then you bring your value, right? Then you bring the depth of what you do or your product or your service.
Well, and what do you tell people who are doing something like, say they're an insurance agent or, you know, something that, you know, is fairly common, you know, a realtor, you know, all of those various things where it is kind of cookie cutter, you know, so how, because, you know, they might have a corporate, you know, like they might be part of, you know, a bigger entity, but how do they stand out and how do they develop that head whipping hook? So that they are standing out from the others?
Well, that's a really great question because in the insurance side of the industry, there's lots of regulations, rules and regulations.
Right. And financial, same thing, you know, they're
the same kind of restriction. So I'm a person who always looks for gray. There's black and white, and then there's all the space.
There's a whole bunch of gray.
There's a whole bunch of gray in there. And how, you know, I'm a little bit like, I would rather beg for forgiveness than ask for permission.
Right.
And I do work with insurance people and I do work with real estate people. So you've got to start to look at what is my personality? If you just start there, what are my quirks? What are things that I don't tell people? Like I just had a real estate agent who was a musician. And I was like, do you use that in your business? Do you actually?
And he said, no, why would I?
Yeah, it was a woman. And she was like, oh, well, I say we match your melody or your symphony. She uses terminology.
There's got a little bit in there.
But it kind of doesn't really land because no one's understanding that, right?
They're
they
like,
don't really,
yeah, it didn't make sense as to why it was there.
So but what if she had know what her client's favorite music is? And then when she drove them around, she had a CD or tape or whatever we do now. She had a stick with the favorite music on it, and she played that. And then she gave it to them as a gift.
Right.
Now that's an innovative way to use her music background in that industry. And I don't believe she would get in trouble.
No, I can't see that there'd be anything wrong with that.
But she would stand out like nobody's ever done that before.
Yeah, because then somebody's going to go to Facebook and they're going to say, oh my gosh, this was so cool. We got in the car and she was playing Madonna.
It becomes an experience. So what she needs to create is an experience like no other, based on who she is. Same way with your insurance people, you must create an experience that's unlike anyone else's experience. And how do you do that? You've got to look at your own quirks and your own interests and find out what your clients' interests are.
Right.
And then create something for them specifically. So it's unique and it's different for each one. It's not like, oh, I got this cookie cutter card and I send it to everybody, or, you know, we all have our picture, whatever. That stuff is sleepy. Okay. Very sleepy. Like if I was an insurance person, what if you sent inspirational quotes to people?
Right.
It would be like, what is this? Oh, this is cool. I really like this. Oh, oh, it's
and then your corporate branding is there,
right? But hard, but it's downplayed. It's not the big in your face,
right? It's in the signature. It's whatever,
right?
Yeah, you know. And I was thinking, you know, if you're an insurance person, that, you know, maybe family is vital to you. Okay, then you build that as part of your branding. You know, we help your family to survive, or, you know, you're the realtor. You know, we help your family to find their forever home, you know, and just, you know, a tie-in with all of that stuff. And, or, you know, maybe you like working with millennials. And I mean, that comes back to a lot of the whole marketing thing with knowing who your niche is, or your niche, that, you know exactly who you're going to market to. You know, I say this time and time again on the program, where one of the things that drives me the most nuts is, you know, if you say, well, Anne, tell me who your target market is. And you go, everyone. No.
Everyone with skin.
Yeah. And actually I have a joke. I have one like that where we asked somebody one time and she sold cosmetics. She sold acne products. And so her audience really was everyone with skin, because we all have skin. Right. But none of us could think of somebody to refer her to. You know,
right, it's very broad.
And then when she said, all right, and and this was a networking group, we sent her home, we said, think about this. And she came back and she said, I want to work with 16-year-old boys who have acne. Right. Bam! Every single one of us knew somebody to refer her to. And could she sell her acne medicine to me? Sure. I mean, but that wasn't her main market. And so that, but it came back to, she had a 16-year-old who had acne problems. And so that really was her passion. And so, yeah, bring it back in, I show dogs. Very strange. Actually, my husband chose the dog. So we have beagles. That's why I have a beagle back here on the shelf behind me. And so, there are ways to tie that in. I mean, this little guy behind me on the shelf, and for those who are listening, it's a little beagle. And of course he has his mask on because he travels, he's very safe. And so he travels and he does all of these things. And I have people on Facebook who, if Track, that's his name, if he hasn't traveled in a while, they ask me what's going on with Track. When I posted over the weekend that, oh my gosh, we didn't have power, several people said, is Track okay? and so that is kind of one of the little things. And is it silly? Is it stupid? Sure. But people remember, oh my gosh, that's the lady who takes the silly stuffed animal with her every place.
Exactly. And I bet you there's a portion of them, Deborah, that have a stuffed animal.
Oh yeah. You know they do.
I mean, we all lie about it, right? Like
Yeah.
no one's going to know I have the teddy bear.
Right. Yeah.
And things like
And
that.
all of these, yeah. And your passion can be other things too. I'm a cancer survivor, so that's a totally different passion. And so, but it really does come back to, those words that you have with rebel, renegade, revolutionary, because we have to find those unique things to set ourselves apart. And we're not creating them. I mean, this isn't, oh my gosh, I guess I need to make something up, because everybody has something that's unique and special to them.
Yeah, it's not made up. I think that's people kind of one of the mistakes that people think about when they think about branding and messaging is that, and I joke about this too, it is made up, but it is based on, it's based on a true story, right? It's based on fact. And yes, we might magnify it or exemplify it in a particular way, but it's not putting lipstick on a pig.
Right.
It's not making something, it's not making you something that you are not.
Right.
It is stretching you, however, because anytime you're in the entrepreneurial space, you're going to be pushing your comfort zone out.
There are some people that are born to be entrepreneurs, but that's really pretty rare.
I remember I had one of my mentors, Les Brown. He asked me that one time on the radio. He goes, well, did you have a lemonade stand as a child? And I was like, oh, no, I didn't do that. I was busy playing with my brother, and we were running all over the neighborhood, playing. That's what I did as a kid. I had a vivid imagination. My mother was really negative on coloring books, but she was good with, here's a piece of paper.
Okay.
Make your own.
So you create.
Make your own, right? And she was always like that. She was always like, I'm not going to give you a structure that's dictating how you're supposed to be. She was really way before her time and super spiritual. So I learned a tremendous amount about creating from nothing, but have it be about something.
Right.
And I think that that's what's really important in the branding arena. You must understand who you are, what makes you fascinating to other people. And we can't see this because this is eyebrow material, okay, folks? You cannot see your own eyebrows. You must work with someone else. I work with other people. It's just how it is because you have an idea, like an identity of who you think you are. And you're only going to do and act inside of that until you expand it into something else. Like when I expanded myself as a public speaker, that was a big deal for me. People are like, oh, you're so great. It's just so easy for you. And I'm like, are you kidding? I'm taking a nap after this, folks. This is like a lot of energy, right? Or like, oh, you wrote that book and it was an Amazon bestseller. And oh, that must have been really easy. And I'm like, not exactly. That was a big learning experience. And, we need to adjust our ideas about who we are because you only can create who you think you are. So when you're expanding, all of a sudden you start to create things bigger. You make more money. You're in front of more people. And like you were saying, whether that's on the video or on Zoom, or if it's live, you're going to be expanding. That's just the name of the game until you use yourself up and you slide into home. And you're done with this lifetime.
I love the people that, that do different things. They'll do this for a while and then they're like, okay, I'm going to do that for a while. And I mean, and there are people who going to work in corporate America, that's what they want to do. They need that structure. They don't, and my husband, great example of that. He has worked for the same company since he got out of college. And fingers, toes, and eyes crossed, it will stay that way until he's ready to retire. But but for him to think about being off on his own, no. I mean, that is so not who he wants to be. But for others, we do have this itch, and some of it is, let's be honest, we don't want to be told what to do. But you mentioned it before, we're also thinking, I can do that better. or differently. I talked to somebody one time and they'd started a landscaping business. And I'm like, oh, do you like working in dirt or doing whatever? And they said, no, the ones we worked with had horrible customer service and we knew we could do that better. And I thought, and they were known for their customer service. And so that kind of falls in that realm too, is, it doesn't have to be, I can build that widget better. It's, I can provide that widget better, or I can make people more happy with that widget. All of those things. And that is scary, because in many ways it's flying in the face of, we all in marketing, we're always told that, now, what problem do you solve? What pain are you fixing? Well, that might not really be what you need to be thinking about.
Well, it's always important to understand that you are solving a problem.
Right. Yeah. Because if you invent sliced bread, that's great, but everybody else has sliced bread too.
Right. So when people come to you to get their problem solved, but I think what's interesting is that we are in a time where the expectation is the customer service is going to be really good. The expectation is you're going to talk to people and not just be like an algorithm like Facebook. I get in trouble on Facebook and there's no one to talk to, right? Or many online things are like that. And people want to be able to talk to a human being. Right. Really, really important. So I think all those things come into play. And when your brand is really strong, people already know what to expect.
Right.
They know what they're going to get. You mentioned earlier Harley, right? And freedom, and Harley is all about rebels and freedom, right? And they market to women now. They have women bikes for women and this and that. And they would never be selling you a scooter. No. Because
it might be smaller, but it's still a hog.
It's not irreverent. It's not irreverent. A scooter is more like a sophisticated European kind of thing, right? And kind of artful and things like that. It has a different flavor. So when you're building a brand and your message, you want to land on your flavor. That's why these cards are so interesting, because it helps you get to at least the first level of digging into what you're going to identify as your particular flavor, your particular take on something, how you see the world, how you can be different. All those things are of maximum importance right now. It's not even like you get to, you actually have to.
And a lot of that is because, as much as we like to think we're not unique. There's not one. I mean, even I saw this the other day that that Elon Musk is now worried because other companies are developing electric cars. And so Tesla is no longer, yes, it is still, but of course the big thing is they're developing them less expensively. And so all of these things, and so we're not, I hate to break it to everybody, we're not special. But we can set ourselves apart, and we have to, because when everybody's kind of on that same level playing field, or we could buy the product or service from 500 other people, we have to set ourselves apart.
Yeah. You have to find your voice, your unique essence, your voice. I call it your voice, your vibe, and your message. Right. Must find. So like Elon Musk is like Apple. People are going to go there and buy that because of the design, who he is, all these things, right? Like Steve Jobs wasn't selling computers.
No, he was selling the experience.
Yeah, he was selling the experience. He was selling that the little guy could be as powerful as the big guy, that it was all about simplicity, design, and expression. Right. Why was that? Steve was OCD. He had to do that. He had to make it simple. That's just, so you want to look at your own self. A lot of times we hide these things. Like I was saying, I'm dyslexic and things like that. Well, I use it to create titles and create words that other people don't even think about because I made a mistake most of the time.
Right. And you're like, sure, I did that on purpose.
Right. And people are always calling me out on it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's interesting to see the attention that you can get. And I'm not even meaning to, truthfully,
Mm-hmm.
but it's to my benefit.
Mm-hmm.
So people come to work with me because they know they're going to get unique and interesting ideas that really are innovative for their field.
Right.
And that's the whole selling point. You can go to any other branding people and get some of the ABCs of branding that I teach as well.
Right, because it is, there are fundamentals.
Sure. There's a lot of fundamentals to it. So that becomes, it's not a distinguishing factor. Like we were saying, if you're in real estate, you're doing what everybody else is doing to sell the house.
Right.
So it's not about the tactics and the strategies. It's about the uniqueness of who you are.
Right.
And how can you bring that to your business?
Right. And I know that there are some people who are thinking, well, but not everyone will like that brand of my unique.
Yeah.
Okay. You probably don't want to be working with them anyway. And whatever it is, it's like, there are enough people out there. And so, if somebody doesn't like that version, like like I was saying, I'm frequently told, shh, calm it down. And so there are some people who I'm just going to overwhelm. You know what? I know that. But it's better that they figure that out from my website, from my Facebook posts, from whatever, than we get halfway down the road of working on a project and can't do it anymore. Same thing with, say a realtor, if you're not on the same page, then you shouldn't have started that book.
Yeah. I think that the problem, particularly for women, men are a little bit different because they got raised differently to push each other around, slap each other on the back and stuff like that. Right?
Those good old sports analogies.
Yeah. They're just really trained differently, but women want to be liked.
Right. We want to please people.
Right. On a really deep level. So that's one of the biggest things you want to start to loosen and let go. The people that like you are going to like you.
Right.
Like dating. Okay.
Yeah.
The people that are going to fall in love with you are going to fall in love with you. The other people are they're not going to be interested.
And that's great. They go off on their own and find their person. Well, oh my gosh, Anne, we are almost at the top of the hour. See, this is why I set a timer, because we could be going forever. Tell us about how what services do you provide and how do you work with folks?
Well, that's really great. I, like everyone else, I'm innovating. I'm taking my trainings and my group coaching online. So I'm just launching a group program. I'm really proud of it. It's really cool. It's your voice, your vibe, your message, and how to monetize so that you can make six figures and probably mid six figures in this particular model before you need to do some other things. But, I meet a lot of people that want to make, I ask them, what do you want to make? And they're like, I want to make 100K. And I'm like, that's so great. So here are the foundational pieces that you need to put together to start. And you don't have to be perfect, okay, people? You just have to get started.
Yeah.
You actually have to do some work and go out and test it in the market and do some things. But we have all the foundational structure for that. And I'm really excited about that. So if people are interested in that, they can reach out to me at AnnBennettMarketing.com.
Perfect.
ANN. If they want to go to the website, it's not there. But you can get
the cobbler's kids, we never quite do our own stuff.
I'm busy working, people. I'm busy working. Haven't got the website up for that, but you could just say, hey, or if you want to talk to me, that's even better because I like to get to know people. So if they want to have a conversation with me, you can do that.
Okay.
Should I put my calendar in here?
Send it to me and we'll put it in the notes for the show.
Yeah. So people can reach out on my calendar and we can talk about where they're at and what they're doing. And if I have something that's appropriate for them. Right. There's also a lot of free, how to network, free stuff, how to build a website, like what you need, like the essence of what you need.
Cool.
That you can get on the website.
I love it. And again, that's AnnBennettMarketing.com. So, this has really been great. This has been so much fun, and we could go on forever, which all that just means is we have to chat again. And so that'll be fun. We'll look forward to having you on again. But are there any final thoughts that you want to leave everyone with?
I think, the biggest thing that people need to understand is that this is not a game that you play by yourself. Mm-hmm. This is a game where you get yourself a mentor, a coach, mm-hmm. and work through the pieces that you need to get. And sometimes you can come in and just come for a particular piece. Like mm-hmm. I do individual pieces as well. But what I find for most of my clients is there's a hole in the bucket mm-hmm. somewhere. It's usually in the message. Mm-hmm. It's not working out for you. It's in the messaging mm-hmm. or it's in the offer. You mm-hmm. thought you made an offer everybody wanted, but you didn't ask anybody if they wanted it.
Mm-hmm. Right. You thought it was great, but mm-hmm.
let me know. People want what they want. Mm-hmm. So you want to be giving them that, whatever mm-hmm. that is. So I think the biggest thing in branding is really to understand your quirks, your interests, what breaks your heart and what mm-hmm. makes you hop and mad, mm-hmm. so that you can use those things to separate and distinguish mm-hmm. yourself. For like you said, we're not that much different as human beings. As Maslow's hierarchy of need, we mm-hmm. all have the same needs.
Right. Yeah. We all have to eat. We still, all those various things.
Family, love, mm-hmm. Recognition, all mm-hmm. these things are important to us as a human being. And we are uniquely different mm-hmm. in our personalities mm-hmm. and our interpretation of something. And that's where it gets really, really interesting.
I love it. I love it. Well, this has been so much fun. And like I said, I can't wait to do it again. Again, Ann Bennett can be found at annbennettmarketing.com. So please go check that out. I am Deb Creer. I've been having an absolutely wonderful time talking with Ann Bennett. Can't wait to do it again. And everyone have a great day.
Tune in for our next program for even more trends, best practices, and techniques for how to make your business a success. The Business Power Hour, hosted by Deb Creer, is proud to be part of the C-Suite Network.